Hey everyone, welcome back to the School Bobbi podcast. This episode is so special and so fun. And if you are listening and are able to go to YouTube to watch this episode, I highly recommend. Today, I interviewed Luis Burgos from Don't Forget About Me, which is a nonprofit organization. And his story is so incredible, but he is just so interesting to watch. And I really think that you guys are going to love hearing his story about how he ended up starting a nonprofit in 2020 and what that looks like now with his position in the beauty industry. It's just such an awesome story of how he ended up in this position and now what he's doing 5 years later with Don't Forget About Me. They're operating these events in Chicago and New York. He also started by going to Puerto Rico, where he is from, and just doing so much good in the industry. And you know that I love to highlight people that are doing good. And this is definitely a feel good episode. So I hope that you love it. When you're done listening or watching, make sure that you subscribe, rate, and review to help us at the podcast. And make sure you follow along with me at Beauty School Bobbi and follow along on Beauty and Style Network. Louise, welcome to the Beauty School Bobbi podcast. Thank you so much for being here today. Where are you? Where are you located? I didn't even ask before.
I'm in Hyde Park, Chicago.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah,
So
it's
we just
my
love
office.
Chicago so much on this podcast. It's I don't know. I feel like eventually I need to get a summer home there, not the winter, because I know you guys is it negative degrees there right now?
Right now it's brutal. It's what, like 4 degrees, something like that. I'm not quite
Oh
sure,
my
but it's a little brutal. It's a little brutal. So, yeah, I think it's like minus something. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I can't handle that. That's too much for me. I need Tennessee winter still, and then we can come up in the summer. With Chicago is just so beautiful and just filled with so many incredible people. And thanks to America's Beauty Show and our connection with them, we have been introduced to the best of Chicago. I think people like you that we've been able to meet. You are such a personality, and you're so your energy in a room. I will tell you, because at Beauty Gives Back this year, I remember being wait, who is that? How do we not know him? Who is he? And I talked to Mariah about you. And again, she just had so many sweet things to say. So I'm so excited to introduce you to
oh,
our audience.
that's
So
wonderful.
the main reason that I wanted to talk to you today is to talk to you about your organization. Don't Forget About Me.
Yes.
What you're doing is so important. And it really is. The second that I heard about it, I was like, wow, I can't believe that this exists. So I kind of want to go
Mhm.
back to the beginning about
Mhm.
how you became a part of this organization, how this all started, and how this all happened. So from the beginning, when did this start for you?
Well, so this happened after Hurricane Maria. I'm from Puerto Rico.
Okay.
And I still have family in Puerto Rico, and watching the news every day, I was just like, oh my God, this is a total devastation of what's happening there. But also at the same time, the numbers of domestic violence went up because all the organizations that help women were closed, phone lines were down, so a lot of the women were pretty much trapped with their abusers, right? So the number just went up, trauma. So I was watching all this, and I worked in the beauty industry for many years. I was washing hair. I was not a stylist, but I used to work in a hair salon. And I had a couple of friends, and I called them up and I said, listen, do you want to go to Puerto Rico and give free haircuts? And I do massages, so do you want to go and just do this with me? And they were like, sure, why not? And the name of Don't Forget About Me came about. I was watching the news, and this woman was trapped for like 2 days in her house. And the reporter went up to her and she just hugged her, and she said, they forgot about me. you know, and I flipped that to don't forget about me because it's such a common thing when you go to someone's house. Listen, come back, don't forget about me, okay? We'll have coffee, like it's a very community kind of talk that you have with someone. So that's how it came about. So we flew to Puerto Rico. We partnered with an organization called Casa Julia de Burgos, which they have a shelter in San Juan, and they have a different hubs in the island. So we drove around, and I got to tell you, at first I was like, "Is this something? Is this something that people need?" Or and they do. People need to be taken care of. People need to, you know, for you to see their humanity, and I think, we started what 2020, and now we're 2025, and we did this journey, and we are super happy that we are doing this for women, for survivors of trauma, whether it's domestic violence, natural disasters, or community violence.
I love that you felt a pull to be like, I need to be there. Like that is something that I want to highlight so much more because it only happens through people like you who are just a normal person, right? Just have a
Right.
connection to the place, but it just takes somebody saying, let's go. Like we can get support and we can get help, but like we need to be there. Was that uncharacteristic for you, or is that something that like how did you feel in that moment? Were you just feel led? Did you feel like this is what I meant to do, or is this like a normal thing for you to jump in and help like that?
I'm the kind of person that I don't talk about it. I'm about it. So when I decided to do it, I raised a little bit of money, and we stayed in the island for 5 days. So we
Wow.
traveled the island for 5 days. And I was overwhelmed to not only to see my island devastated, but also the pain of some of these women, their stories as the hurricane was coming. They were holding their kids, trying to get their house ready for what was coming. Also being with their aggressors and dealing with domestic violence as even before the hurricane got there, and now of course after the hurricane. And just I was overwhelmed, and I had to really take a minute to just kind of put myself together, because it was a tsunami of emotions,
Mhm.
providing massages, women just being just super happy for us to be there. We were in a place called Lloren Torres in Puerto Rico, and this woman was like, "I'll be right back." I'm like, "Okay." She came back with with food, and I said, "What are you doing?" She's like, "You did not forget about me." And it just it was a lot to take, and I was not planning to. I never wanted to really do a nonprofit. That was not
Mhm.
in the future, right? That was not. But somehow it led to more events in New York and then in Chicago. But definitely seeing the need of someone, for someone to be taken care in a hairstylist chair, and just you know to see their humanity and their dignity, right? Like, you deserve this time for yourself. You deserve this because you've been through it. We're gonna take care of you now.
I think like you said, like a lot of people will maybe feel that pull, but they're like, maybe it's not me. I'm not supposed to do that. This isn't my path. This wasn't my plan. I think that holds a lot of good people. Like a lot of people feel that like I just want to do something. And I think it's so important to speak to people like you to say, like, no, you actually can do it, even if it's not your plan and it's not what you thought you were gonna do, because when you feel that pull to help, you should help. Like that's what's going to make the world a better place, right? Is more people stepping up and saying that I'm going to do this. Now I know that wasn't, I'm sure, an easy route to go for you. I'm sure it wasn't like, oh, we just hopped on a plane and then we went and
No.
whatever, but like
Oh,
but But I know that having support from people, because there are so many people that want to help and can support financially or can support in different ways if you're willing to go. If you're willing to do it, it's almost like the if you build it, they will come kind of thing. Like it
Right.
really is that, especially in the beauty industry. And I think that's what's so beautiful about our community and what we do
Yes.
and why we need to speak to more of this side of it. Yes, you need to get through beauty school, and yes, you need to do all the things that you're doing to become a professional, but there is a huge nonprofit part of this industry that isn't
That is correct.
highlighted a lot. And I think it's what we should be, speaking about more, because it's so important just to impact the world in a better way. Like we have a community that's able to help. And I think it's so special that you felt that call and actually went. Because again, that's rare. That's not something that a lot of people can do. What do you remember about coming back after that? Were you on fire to build something here, or what was that time like when you came back?
It took me a while to like, because you kind of become an empath. Like, is
Mhm.
that the right word, right? Especially like, this human connection that you create. Hairstylists have that human connection with people when they sit, when clients sit on their chair and they tell them about any kind of thing that is happening in their lives, right? So we did this trip, and then, I had all these stories of all these women, you know, telling me what was happening in their lives, what they lost, their house, you know, their jobs. I mean, just a lot of things happening in their lives. And when I came back, you know, I, I was really saying to myself, I don't think I'm ready to do this. This is a lot of work. I mean, the mission is the mission, right? Free haircuts and massages to survivors of trauma. But I think more than that is just taking all that in. Because when we do an event, we cannot be sad. We have to be happy, but we know why we're there, right? So, I decided, you know what, let's do one event in New York. So, I partnered up with an organization called VIP,
I
Violence
love that you
Intervention
were
Pro.
like, I want to pause you. I love that you were like, let's just start small. Let's just do New York. I like that you were like, oh, let's just do New York. I love the way that you said that. That was great.
I think also going back to like me being an artist, being in a band, like I'm not afraid of a volume. I'm not afraid of
Mhm.
like, why don't we, even though it might be big for someone, is very small for me. I'm like, let's do New York and let's see where we at. So that was 25 people came in, women, and I saw the reaction of the women because salons by JC, that they're
I do.
like they
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so they provided us with with the space. So it was the experience was even better because they got to go to a very nice salon,
Yeah.
the suites and all. So, seeing the reaction and seeing the vibe and women being so happy that they were being taken care of, high-end products, massage oils, candles. I looked around and I'm like, you know what? I think we're going to do this. I think we're going to go all out and we're going to do this. Right. And I think after that New York event, Puerto Rico was like, okay, this is how people feel, but this is how in New York, this is how people react to when you're taken care of, right? Like, so after New York, I kind of decided I'm stuck. I'm stuck with this. Like, this is something that I would like to do, have a human connection. Also, I have a son. So it was important for me, for him to know that, there's more than life than just buying stuff and material and all these things. So it was important for me to kind of like do that kind of like long term. Again, it's a lot of work, but it was important for me to start doing it.
Yeah. And from there, how has the organization grown, and what does it look like today as far as events and team? And tell me about what the team is like and the volunteers and how you organize the volunteers. How does this all work?
So this is a volunteer based organization.
Mhm.
So, all my hairstylists, massage therapists, makeup artists, content creators, they are really in tune with the mission,
Mhm.
right? So it's easier for me to recruit people. I have called people when the massacre in Uvalde happened, you
Mhm.
know, we went. But before that, I needed to recruit people. So I called, random people on the phone, and I explained to them what was happening and what we do. And they were like, okay, so how can I help? You know, this particular photographer, she was so down. She drove all the way from, I don't know, Texas down to Uvalde because she believed in the mission. And I think the main thing that I want to thank our volunteers is that they truly are part of the DFAM world mission. And every time they do an event, they give 110%.
Mhm.
They really try their best to accommodate them, whether it's a new hairstyle, a new change. A lot of abusers tell their victims, I want you to stay like that. I don't want you to cut your hair. I like that
Mhm.
style. So when they come to us and we tell them, listen, you're the boss. You can do whatever. We got the best hairstylists in New York, Chicago, Puerto Rico. We can do whatever you want. And that's one thing that I really appreciate about our volunteers. The team itself has grown into a community that they know each other. They work with different stylists. So we really have become like a family in terms of when we do the events, everybody knows each other. So that has grown into a wellness community, if you want.
I think that's so special because knowing that you're going to know other people that are going to be there, I think sometimes, and I just can speak from like the student perspective, like at the beauty school, like when we go and do like haircuts for the homeless and stuff, and we'll do, things in our community, right? Just to start showing them that this exists out there and that they can be a part of this, like while they're in beauty school, to hopefully then encourage them when they become salon professionals or beauty professionals to continue these acts of service, right? Because we all have a way that we can get help. And I think, your mission, our mission is to make the world a better place. And sometimes we just have to show. But I know that that can be a nerve-wracking thing for some of them to go into because in our experience, which I'm sure is similar to yours, these are people that maybe haven't been exposed. Well, I'm sure there's two sides of this. I think there's a lot of volunteers that probably have never been exposed to anything like this in their life, and
Right.
so maybe a little bit nervous of what if I say the wrong thing? Or what if I,
Yes.
like I'm sure there's a lot of that. But then on the other side, I know a lot of the students that have volunteered have been in situations where it's funny because you're like, you would think that they wouldn't want to maybe be around that situation again. It would be hard,
Yes.
but it's like, no, they're the ones that want to step up and help. Because we know a little bit about the students past sometimes that, isn't shared to instructors or whatever, just because we meet with them and we enroll them and, they'll open up about things. But, that's not something we share with the school, but it's
Yep.
always those are the ones that are the first ones to volunteer to go help, the first ones
Yep.
that want to go do that. So I'm sure that you see both sides of it. For somebody that might be nervous about getting into something like this, or maybe they're like, oh, that's, it's not for me, what do you say to them? How do you get people to kind of get more comfortable in this role of helping in these situations that are very, very sensitive?
First of all, so we before each event, we send out a video, an instructional video how to deal with survivors of trauma,
It's
right? So they
amazing.
know how to, maneuver any situation. And the one thing that I got to say that, I always say to myself, and I talk to them, I greet them because we do early setup. So I get, for new volunteers, of course, I greet them, and I talk to them about the organization. But, there, but by the grace of God, go I, right? Like each person here has an experience that because of what your choices in life, the people you met, what car you got into, what choice of partner you have, all these things you're one step away from being that person, right?
Mhm.
So whenever I talk to someone, I just say, listen, this is a regular event for you to bring what you do to life and make people feel amazing. Because you already do it,
Mhm.
in your salon or in your business, but you're bringing this now to a higher level of like, this is what I'm gonna take care of you, and you don't have to worry about anything. So, again, it's just talking about the human connection, and stylists already do this every day. They
Mhm.
do this every day. And I think when you see our videos, when you see our content, I hope the one that you can come to one of our events, by the way.
I
Uh,
would love that.
the vibe, the love that's in the air. We did an event for um, uh, teenagers. Our first event this summer. It was a teenage prevention suicide program.
Mm.
I was overwhelmed. I have a teenager son, you know, but I saw these young ladies just being we Mona in New York donated her space. So they were in a hair salon on 7th Avenue in New York City,
Wow.
being treated like queen. And it just felt amazing, right? So I think when you see our content and on Instagram, I think automatically people are like, I want to do that. I want to be there, because it just feels good. And the fact that you work with your hands and you can make someone feel amazing, it really helps.
Yeah, I think that confidence is really important, especially I love to hear that you're working with younger people as well. I mean, we know that with domestic violence, I mean, that it abuse, like there, it's all ages. And I think that it's so important that we focus on the youth because you still have
Yes.
time to really make a difference in their life and know that, like, especially for somebody young, I mean, I mean, age is whatever, but you know that with somebody young, I mean, them being in that salon, that could be like, wait, I want to do that someday. And that can be their ticket out to
That's
a
right.
completely different, successful life that is full. And they're going to remember that forever. And so being able to use like the good of the industry too, to show them that and to show what a light this industry can be, I think is so impactful. I know that you all are super involved. About how many events are you all coordinating, like at a time? What's coming up for 2026? Like what is on, kind of the schedule right now?
Well, we try to do 10 events a year,
Okay.
right?
That's a
Right
lot.
now, right now we're having an event in Puerto Rico as it's at 3 o'clock.
Awesome.
With the elderly. So I have a team in Puerto Rico, and they're going to be providing manicures, haircuts, barbering. So that's very exciting. So we try to do 10 events a year. Right now, because of what's happening here in Chicago with migrants, that
Hmm.
has scaled down. We want to keep our participants safe. We
Right.
want to keep our volunteers safe, but we aim to do at least 10 a year, if not more. So when we did, for example, Uvalde, that was not really, of course, scheduled. That was a
Right.
special event that we did. So we have also those kind of, special events that we do, that something does happen and we feel that we can contribute, and provide services to the community that's been affected. We're hoping 2026 will, again, it's extremely difficult. A lot of our organizations, in terms of, because we partner up with community-based organizations,
Hmm.
and they provide us with the participants, whether it's
Right.
in Puerto Rico or New York or Chicago. And it's very challenging right now for nonprofit organizations. So we're
Yeah.
hoping to still do the work, 2026.
Yeah, well, I think even now it's going to be more important that as soon as as things change, that you all are able to jump in and are able to, because just like with the natural disaster, with this happening, a lot of people are being kept inside and are,
Yes.
going through different things. So I know that that need
Yes.
is going to be there, and I know you all are already prepping and ready for
Yes.
that when the time is safe, like you said. And it's
Mm.
crazy to think about all of these outside factors that come into this. And I think that that is the one sided nonprofit that it's really hard to predict, right? And the funding needs to be there for when it is time, right? And so I know there's two different ways that people can get connected. I'm sure that there is a way that people can donate funds
Yes.
financially to this organization as well as volunteer. So tell me about how to get connected and in those two ways. How are people able to help?
Well, please go to our website and click on the link and donate. Also, right now we are partnering up with hair salons. So, for example, in New York, we did the Mona Cut Hair Story. It's a brand that they have their own space on Fifth Avenue. And also, I think Blackstone Collective in New York. We did three amazing events with them. So we are looking for partners here in Chicago. If you have a salon and you want to, donate your space, please reach out to us. We would like our participants to feel safe, but also to have an amazing experience. So that'll be a great way for you to connect, and also contribute to what we're doing here in Chicago.
I love that. And then is on the website, where are we able to, if you're listening from wherever you are, how are you able to donate if financially you are able to give?
dfamworld.org.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people are going to hear this and want to help in, like I said, in some way. And so I think it's just good to get that out there of a way that we're able to help and just support what you're doing because as you have volunteers that you need to take care of, and there are pieces, like there is a cost to all of this.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
it's a nonprofit, but there is still money needed in order to make this happen. And like I said, it's people like you that are shining a bright light on the beauty industry and setting up people because again, not everyone is going to be like, hey, I'm ready to start this nonprofit, but they can donate a day, they can donate a
Yes.
space, they can donate time. So I think it's just a really important message because I think all of us, through all of the things that are going on, the multiple things that you've even just listed in the 30 minutes that we've been talking, there is a
Yeah.
lot of need. There's a lot of hurt right now in the world. And
Mhm.
I think there's a lot of us that are like, well, what can we do to help? We want to do something. And I think being able to donate time is, again, it's I know it's a day off if it's a Sunday or Monday or whenever it's happening, but you're donating your time, but you're donating your skill. And I think, I'm
Yes.
sure, what I do know about this organization is I'm guarantee that the volunteers have so many stories of how their lives were changed through doing this. Like, you show up and you think that you're there to
Yeah.
serve and you're there to help, but what ends up happening is that your life is changed and impacted by the person that is sitting in that chair, or the person that you're working with. And that's the important thing. I mean, that's the thing that makes all of us better too. So I think that if anybody is able to donate time, that's just incredible. Now, are the dates like listed already, or is that something that you send like separately, um based on, because I'm sure that there's a lot of sensitive material and time of
Mhm.
getting survivors there and everything. So how does that work?
So, right, all our events are on Mondays because
Okay.
usually either salons are closed on Mondays or
Mhm.
hairstylists are closed on don't work on Mondays. So
Mhm.
it's easier for us to recruit hairstylists. Uh, and our events usually run from 10 to 2 or 3 o'clock. You know, a lot of times we have what is it? What do you call it? A release form that have people sign in terms of recording and taking pictures. But you know what? A lot of times after they get their hair done, all of these women are like, I want to get my picture taken, because they feel so wonderful, And we have
Yes.
something called Portraits of Resilience, where we started in Uvalde, that is basically, you don't, you can be brave. You can, you are resilient, you look good, you look amazing, and we want to showcase that. We don't really do before and after photos. We want to show that you have survived, that you're a survivor, and you're going to keep on going, right? So a lot of our events are coordinated with our partners, and they kind of dictate, we're going to go to a shelter, no photos, no video, no location sharing.
Mhm.
Um, and then we have other events that they're pretty much open, and they're you can take photos, you can take videos, but again, most of our events are on Mondays, and we give a month in advance to stylists, so that way I know they're super busy, but at least we give an advance a month away so they can do their schedule and they have enough time to prep.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love how that's you're making it easy for the volunteers also. Now, in the state of Tennessee, it's required for beauty professionals to go through domestic violence training, and have a like a training. I think it's every 2 years that they have to complete it, in order to keep their license, and it's a part of licensure. Is that something that exists in Illinois right now?
I think so. I'm not quite sure. But like I said, we do send out our own video and how to deal with survivors of domestic violence and sexual violence. But I think they do.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
obviously common enough that it has been, brought into a part of licensure and what we do. And I think that the one thing that I think is so important is something that I didn't realize before coming into the beauty industry is the way that beauty professionals are, that frontline person, to look for signs and to like all of those things
Hmm.
prior to, them coming into survivorship, right? So I
Right.
think that it starts even in the beginning. And I think that sometimes when people are coming into the beauty industry, they don't always realize that it's going to be heavy at moments. And I think it's
Hmm.
important to talk about because I think it is a deciding factor on, is this something that you can do and that you can handle? There are so many things and so many different reasons that people come into the beauty industry, but knowing that they're kind of front lines for sex trafficking and seeing things on the people that they're working on and what to look for, it was something that like blew my mind. Like it just something I
Hmm.
never even like had considered it prior to being in the beauty industry. And so it's even more of like a responsibility, I think, for us in this industry to uphold these, this help and this volunteer work and all of this. So I just do think that it's so great that somebody like you in the industry is taking this on, and is able to be that like middle ground in between the organizations that you're working with as well as the volunteers. So I know that that's like a balancing act for you. I'm sure that
Yes.
it's, you're wearing a lot of hats and you're in between two different worlds because you're in the nonprofit world as
Right.
well as the volunteer. So how has that been for you in working? How do you find the organizations that you're working with and what has the openness been to this idea and into your organization?
Well, you mean the our partners and
Yes. Mhm.
so usually I reach out to them. And, when I say free haircuts and massages, they're like, when are you coming? Like, so when are we doing this? But definitely there is a trust that I'm super grateful that they trust us.
Mhm.
Because, when I come in with our stylist, we look like a rock band,
Mhm.
tattooed, you know what I mean? Like punk rockers, and, we go into their space and, they we come in with good intentions. The vibe feels right. The participants notice it, the directors or the people who work there. So, the one thing that I got to say to all our organizations, a shout out to all of them because I love them all and they do an amazing job providing these services to women, is that they allow us to do our work and they trust us with, sensitive information, locations. Some of these women are being literally like these they're in hiding,
Mhm.
right? A lot of when we were in Puerto Rico, basically we were on the phone and they were telling us, okay, make a left at the gas station, make a right here, keep going. There's no GPS because that's how dangerous it is for these women, right? But the fact that we are being trusted, our volunteers are being trusted, is really it tells us that we're on the right path with them in terms of
Mhm.
providing our services to them. And definitely, we have created great amazing partnerships with them.
That's awesome. And I know that partnerships, I mean, that's the main thing that you all need is you need to have
Yes.
people that are willing to work with you. So I know that that's a really important piece of this. Now, I know that I wanted to talk about Don't Forget About Me and I wanted to hear
Hmm.
all the things, but I do want to talk about you a little bit, kind of
Hmm.
as a person and how you came into the industry and how all of this has changed you. I know you said that that was in 2020 that this kind of all started, that there was like
Hmm.
a, okay, there's a need and we're going to do this. Tell me about what that growth has been like for you and what being a part about of Don't Forget About. I know it's not about you, but I'm going to make it about you for a second. Okay. What has this been for you personally? I want to help inspire, like I said, people that have this pool that you have. What has the last 5 years been, and what has changed inside of Luis in that time?
Well, to quote Freddie Mercury, it has not been a bed of roses, right? I have made mistakes. I mean, again, I never wanted to. I never. It was never in my, in my, future of running a nonprofit. So as I was doing it, I was learning. The one thing that I have put into practice of being in the music business or is really developing community and really listening to people, like really being in tune. It have made me a better communicator with my, even with my son, with my wife, learning that people have different paths in life. Uh, in terms of, just being more empathetic. I mean, way going beyond empathy. You really have to realize that we heal in community. Like we don't heal in isolation. And this happened also during COVID, that people just got sick of being trapped in their home, right? Like, so I learned that we are all part of this fabric. And I know it sounds very like hippie hippie, but it is what it is. Like when you do the work that I do, you realize that Puerto Rico, Chicago, Uvalde, I mean, everything is connected through human connection. And, having the patience to deal with people, doing a massage in the mountains of Puerto Rico, 85-degree weather, and you're doing this and you're like, why am I doing, like, why am I here? Right. And you are done with the massage, or you're done with the haircut, and that smile that you get, that satisfaction, right? Um, is really wonderful. And I think teaching my son about dealing with people and passing that on, right? Like at first he's not really paying attention to what I'm doing. He's like, Bobby, whatever. But now I listen and he is, right.
It's
He's,
incredible.
I threw that rock in the river, and it is creating ripples, and that's going to
Mhm.
help him with, you know, his partner, or for whatever endeavor he wants to do in life. But I think it has helped me on a personal level with my family, with my friends, because recruiting recruiting volunteers is not an easy task.
Mhm.
You really have to not sell the mission, but you have to really inspire people. And that's the one thing that, modesty aside, I do have. Like, you need to, motivational hashtag motivational Mondays is not a, like, we should stop doing that. We should really, like, motivate people, inspire people, and get them to do something. Whether it's, if you're a mechanic and you know how to fix a car, go to your elderly's neighbor's house, knock on their door. Hey, do you want me to look at your car? Because I know you need it to go to get your medication. Like, if you have a skill, if you have something, you can do something with that one skill that you have. So
Mhm.
that's
Would
that's
you
what has helped me.
Yes, and would you say that your kind of definition of success, we've talked about you were in a band, and you're a musician, and was there a point in your life, I know that this is, like you said, this wasn't in the plan, this is like, this wasn't what you thought your calling was gonna be. Has this all kind of changed your definition of success, or, what talk to me a little bit about, who you were as a person then and now, as lives have changed?
By the way, this is iced tea. This is not,
Oh, yes,
if
I
you're gonna
forgot. We know that. Yes, we know that that's iced tea. You preface that it's not whiskey because it is 11 a.m. But yes, iced tea on
no,
the
because
video if
if you're
you're
gonna talk about
watching
the rock
today.
star lifestyle, this is so. You know, I talked to my wife about this, and I have kind of like, my events are kind of like a show for me.
Mhm.
Like the volunteers are the artists, and I'm like the road manager.
Mhm.
And we set up a show, and the participants are the audience. So we're there. We set up shop, we do our gig, and then we bounce. So that's how I see it. Like that's how I kind of feel about it right now. But you know, I feel that my success, and again, I don't want to, but I perform all over New York City. I perform in festivals in Canada. I travel to Europe. I perform with Shakira. Like, I was on NPR. I did all that stuff that it was really amazing. And, it was in the 90s, so it was great. It was a lot of fun. Um, and and then it was, it stopped. I was done with it. And now we're here, right? In 2025 doing this you know, this new endeavor. And for me, again, I have transferred what I have learned in the music industry to put it into play into what I do, which is basically is kind of being on tour with a bunch of artists, and we're doing this amazing shows, and we just make people happy, and we all leave happy. The audience is happy, the artist is happy, and we all had an amazing gig. So success for me is having great events, having an amazing team of people that really care for what we do, and really hopefully doing this for a couple of more years, and just really change lives.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. I love when I get to talk to people that have had different lives. And I think as we get older, you realize, like, oh, wait, that was getting me ready for this. That was getting me ready for this. And it's not always, I feel like a lot of times people like to talk about how, like, it's negative to, grow and change. And there are people that are more open to that change, where Mark and I have this conversation all the time about how it's like, well, that was just getting us ready for this. And so now
Right.
we can, at this age and this stage in our life, we can be more trusting in what is meant for us and at the time that it's meant for us. Because I think when you're young, you want all these things to happen for you, right? And you're like, even if you're like, I'm going to work as hard as I can to make it happen. I think what we know with age is that there are things that are meant for you at different times of your life. And I think it's just, which is such a great message of like to keep
Right.
going forward, because you have no idea what is set for you down the road. And you have to just keep taking the next right step and walking through like the next door that opens, because that led you to be able to impact the world in a way that is so meaningful. And had you planned that, or had you been in your 20s and been like, well, this is what I want to do, I want to start a nonprofit and I want to, it doesn't always happen that way. But
Right.
when you're young, you think that that's how it happens. You're like, well, I just have to decide I want it,
Right.
And
And just do it.
yes. And what we know is that even though you might want something or see something as meant for you, you have to just keep going, because it might not be the thing that you were meant to do, or the version of yourself that you're going to be, right? Like, had you tried to do this at 20, it's a different version of you. You haven't fully formed yet into Louise that you need to be to lead volunteers or to make those connections, right? Like, you have all of those core things that make you you, but you needed that experience. And I think that
Absolutely.
It's something that I mean, like I said, we talk about it all the time, and it's something that I'm around a lot of young people a lot. I'm in the high schools or with, like 300 BD school students all the time. And it's something that, like, especially on my show, when they watch, I want them to see people like you that are like, this was not my plan. This was what I thought I was
Yeah.
going to do.
And every
And cause yeah, go ahead.
no, I mean, like you said, everything in life is like like levels, right? Like I really truly enjoy the whole 90s, early 2000 rock star lifestyle. Loved it, loved it, loved it. But you're absolutely right. I think at some point, you have to say, I need something more meaningful, for myself. And also, by the way, I also man I also manage an ED, EDM?
Yeah.
Okay,
Of
I'm
course.
asking
I'm
you.
kind
Oh my
of
God,
cool, okay? I'm a
I'm in
mom,
my
but I'm like kind of cool.
I'm in my 50s. I'm like, why am I asking this young woman what is EDM? I was managing EDM DJ in New York City.
Okay.
So that was like my last wave of like being in the entertainment business. And
Yeah.
we won best female DJ in New York. We went to South Beach for a Roberto Cavalli private show, you
Oh
know,
my
and I
gosh.
and I'm there and I'm like, I don't know about this. I'm too old for this. I'm like, I want to go home. Like, so in a
I'm
way,
tired. Like, that's the message, is I'm tired and I need to go to bed.
when my knees are like as loud as the DJ set, that is an issue. So as I'm doing this, right? It's 2:30, like it's 2 o'clock in the morning. She's on her middle of her set, and you just kind of start get like going, hmm, you know, this is really not working out. I mean, there was other issues why it didn't work out, but in terms of what you really want in life, and my son was, he was a toddler. As you need to get up no matter what. Like,
Yeah.
there's no excuse of like, can you just
They're
give
waking
me
you up.
yeah, no, it's happening. So that also play a part of like seeing your surroundings and
Mhm.
saying, I don't think this is going to be for me. So after that, it kind of like started shifting. So again, like you said, you see something when you're young, but there's also, you have room because you're young, so you can
Mhm.
always grow, and it can turn into something else.
Yeah, I was very set on what I thought life was gonna be like, and I see a lot of these students, like, I'll meet with, like, and it's the best thing, but I'll meet with, like, 17-year-olds that are graduating from high school early, and they're like,
Yeah,
"Okay, I'm starting beauty school, and I'm this, and I'm this," and I'm like, "I
yeah,
love that, and I love that you're planning, I wanna, like, I just never wanna put that fire out," you know? I'm like,
yes.
"Yes, like, we're gonna do that," but I also wanna be like, but life's gonna hit you. And, like, and not even like in a negative way, but life will
No.
hit you in a way of like, oh, now I'm starting a nonprofit. Like those things. Like, it's not even negative. Like, it'll just be like, oh, wait, this is for me now. And you're like, buckle up because I got to get ready to do this thing that I've been made to do.
And this is a not a funny story, but it's kind of a funny story. So when I told my wife that I was going to start a nonprofit, you know, my wife literally wrote the book about the nonprofit sector. She's a professor. She wrote two books about it, and she was
Okay.
like, "Listen." She was like, "Listen, I don't know about this. This is a very difficult road." And I'm like, "What do you know? What do you know? You only wrote a couple of books and you teach nonprofit, whatever." And, but you have people who can help you, guide you. Now she's, of course, one of my biggest supporters, and she really guide me through everything. But, when you make decisions like that, you're like, I want to start whatever it is, whether it's a nonprofit, a hair salon business, whatever it is, you should listen also to people that are, your team, who want
Mhm.
to do good by you, right? To really want to guide you and help you. Uh, but yeah, I think, when you're young, you do have that fire, I remember telling people that, I don't know if this is a true story or not, but I used to say, well, I'm going to be like this Napoleon that he invaded a country and then he burned all the bridge, all the ships, so nobody can go back. We have to move forward. We have to keep invading. At a certain point, you're like, I'm too tired. I need to so it is important for you to know that you do have room to grow as you get older and you can have different path, if you will. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I think like I wish that I would have. And there's two, I always say, but I want you to like live your 20 and like live those experiences because that is what's going to make you, right? Like I wouldn't trade all of those things. I wouldn't be like, well, listen to me because that, no, like go live. Like that's the message is when you're young and like go live. But, just know that there are some things that might, hit you that you're like, oh, okay, this isn't, the planned path. Now you are I connected with Mariah, who we just love, love, love so much. And I know that you work a lot with Cosmetologist Chicago and America's Beauty Show. So tell me like somebody that you kind of go to. Like who is your go-to when you are like, oh, I need this in the beauty industry or somebody that inspires you in the beauty industry? Who's that person for you?
Oh my God, that's a tough question. I don't know. I in terms of the beauty industry, I look for people who are definitely Mariah is she has an amazing I don't know, light or being or whatever it is that she has, but for sure we have had great conversations about the work that we do, helping people. So she really I go to her events and I see her like talk to these young people and she just like really like it's like being in church, if you will, right? Like she
It
just like
is. Yeah.
and you yourself, you're like, yes, let's do it. So she's one of those people that I really look forward to hear her speak. I also there's a guy named Jesse. He owns three hair salons in here in Chicago, uh, and he's one of those people that you really truly. He's a Latino, and I really look up to him in terms of the work that he has done, and he really works with the community, right? He's one of my volunteers, and his team also volunteers for our events. So he's a really inspiring person, also.
That's awesome. Well, I think it's important to just keep spreading that energy and spreading that love. And I do think that the one thing that I know about what we do that is aside from the beauty school and all of that stuff is that we just keep like people just keep coming into our lives that have this insane light about them. And we just want to keep chasing that and keep highlighting like all of the good that is there. And I'm just so thankful that we finally got time to talk. And I have so many more questions for you that I feel like are going to be off air questions about your life in the 90s. But I'm just so thankful. That's a whole other episode. We'll do that one on a different episode. That will be behind a paywall. But I'm so thankful for you. And like I said, I just really want, the main thing about today and about this episode is don't forget about me. And so don't forget about me. You said you can go to the website. It's DFAM World on
World,
Instagram.
bsamworld.org.
Okay, awesome. And then
Yeah.
we can definitely follow along with your events on social media. So thank you so much for being here today with us. I'm so thankful. And we'll make sure that we tag everything so that anyone that's listening can go and find out more information about Don't Forget About Me. But thank you
Yes,
so much,
please.
Louise.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate you guys, making me feel welcome in the community. Uh,
Of course.
Thanks again for everything. I really appreciate your time.